Hello, everyone. Welcome back to The Game Plan, a playbook for winning law firms. Scott Clayson here again, your co-host of our podcast. Want to welcome Joyce Bradford, my other host here. Joyce, welcome. Hope you're having a good day.
I am. Scott, I think we had an agreement that I was always to be esteemed when you introduced me.
No, I probably didn't say esteem because, that's become like my trigger word, and I'll probably say segue as well, like a million times, but we won't do that. We're also joined today by Jason Goldfinger. Jason, hello.
Good morning.
Okay. Yeah. Jason is the VP of Sales at ProfitSolve. He is a part of our group here at the ProfitSolve level that, again, for those of you that are joining us for the first time, ProfitSolve owns some of the most popular legal practice management solutions out there on the market, names you're familiar with like Tabs3, Rocket Matter, Cosmolex, TimeSolve, and a number of other companies that help professional service firms get the most out of their business with the tools that we provide. Jason specifically is an expert in the topic that we're going to be talking about today, and that is on document management and document sharing and e-signature collection. So we thought this would be a good time. Again, our podcast is all about trying to get you in about 15 or 20 minutes, like some sort of golden nugget of information that you can take away to help run your law firm better. And we know that there's no meatier topic than how you organize your documents that you are having to work on for your clients and your matters. And then, as Jason will speak to, sharing them with your clients, getting signatures from your clients, whether it's, I love the term that I've learned in the last couple of months, Jason, of like wet ink, actually like literally physically signing the document versus electronic signature. When you say wet ink, everybody knows what you mean. It's a great phrase. Okay, so enough of me talking. Joyce, let's first dive into managing documents for law firms can be quite challenging. There's can be a hodgepodge of systems and processes. Some people still will literally have a file cabinet and print out documents and put them in a manila folder and file it away. Some have their own quirky in-house way of saving things on a server. Some just literally have no system whatsoever, and everybody just saves stuff on their own hard drive and shares it that way.
Yeah.
Let's get into like, what should you be doing as a winning law firm?
Yeah, great question, Scott. I love thinking about documents in law firms and how to get people to really modernize this part of their practice, because as you aptly said, it is the meatiest part of law firm management. In fact, it is the meat and the potatoes of law firm management, right? When you think of what you need to do as a law firm, there are certain things that you deal with every single day, right? You need to understand you need to be competent in the area that you're practicing. You need to have the tools necessary to represent your clients. You need to have a way to create and store work product. You need to have a way to share work product with the necessary parties, whether that be your client, opposing counsel, or the court. There are all of these things that you need, right? And I like to think of document management as a digital tool, the same way we thought about legal research management as a digital tool 10, 15, 20 years ago, right? So if you were like me when you went to law school, your first year class, when you were doing either trial ad or legal research or just beginning, you had to go to an actual library and look at actual books and find real statutes and make copies of things. It was wild. It was wild. I still remember the smell of very old books. And I mean, like, I went to a very old law school library, and the library happened to be in the basement of this building called Wiggins, and it had a very distinct library old book smell down there, and it brings me a lot of joy. I don't know that most people relate to it that way, but that's how I think of paper, and I think that's how most law firms think about paper, right? There was an old way to store things. There was an old way to capture data, but it doesn't really work, right? Having to go into a library to look up statutes, having to go to a file cabinet to find the work that you've done before, that doesn't work in our modern system where people work remotely, where you need access to your data all the time, right? And so, okay, it just intuitively makes sense. You're going to move this to a digital world. But then comes the maxim that I learned very early on in practice management from my very first mentor, the great Eric Mazzoni, who told me one time, he said, if you are using a service and you are not paying for it, then you are the product. And there is no truer maxim in the world of technology than that. It's true for everything we do. If you are not paying for that service, then the data that you are sharing, the information that you're collecting, the documents that you are storing there, those are the product. And that is not what we want. That is not what we want. And that's how we need to think about this, right? Not only do we need to have access to our documents all the time, not only do we need to store them in a way that we can use them, that we can modify them, that we can track them, that we can share them with the appropriate parties, but they also need to be stored in a way that is secure. And you need to be in control of that service and the service provider. And you need to understand exactly what it is that you are paying for, because you really should be paying for something here.
I think that gets back to, and I will always lean into your legal practice management software is going to be your best source of truth for a lot of things that you do to manage a law firm.
Sure.
And so I think of when it comes to, because there's two things when I think of file sharing, and Jason, we'll talk about in a second, sharing with your clients. But when it comes to sharing with your internal team members, versioning control, what version of the document are we working on? Document automation, document assembly. There's a lot of things, especially if you're filing a lot of things with courts, that you have to have like the templates, and being able to customize the templates easily for your individual client, where 90% of the letter or the document's already written and you just have to insert 10, 15 fields scattered throughout the document. Most of your legal practice management solutions should allow you to do that, right? And you should be shopping for one that does if they don't, is where I think I'm headed.
That was a really good breakdown, Joyce. That was really impressive. And I was hearing you talk about it, and it's this feeling of internal file management is very different from when you go external with your clients, because in your law firm, your staff, you guys are used to the workflows that you have in place. So you get, you can have these logins and you can have these documented processes that everybody just kind of gets to know as second nature. But when it comes to your clients and file sharing in general, the things that I've learned through my experiences, depending on where your firm is at, you need to cater to what your clients are capable of. If you're a law firm starting out, the best case scenario is from the beginning, implement a portal system and an onboarding system where you say, this is where you log in, this is where all of your stuff is. So from the beginning, that's the expectations of your clients. That is a lot tougher to do if you have an existing practice that you're trying to bring into the modern age. You're going to have 15, 20% of your clients that will adopt a client portal setup where you have a workspace or folder set up for them. Drop off files for them. They log in, they get them, they upload files there. You're going to have some tech savvy or maybe not as transactional clients that you work with really often that will be able to use that. But then you've got the other 80% of clients that are not as tech savvy. They're older. They call you for 15 minutes saying, I don't know what my password is. How do I log in? Where do I go? And I would guess most of you guys don't really build them for that, even though you're playing tech support. Some of you might. But we want to eliminate that. We want to cater to them. So it's really important to find systems that have both sides of that coin so that you can have a portal system for the tech savvy clients, but then also communicate with security through email or through text messaging. Some easy way for your clients that they don't have to call you and say, I don't know how to do this. And we're talking about real security here, 256-bit encryption. I'm sure a lot of you guys, 15, 20 years ago, password protected PDFs were the standard, and that was okay back then. It was 128-bit encryption, but with that method, you're still sending full PDFs through public email servers, Outlook, Gmail, Yahoo. And Joyce, going back to what you said, those systems are free. I mean, I know you pay for G Suite and Office 365 and things like that, but the emailing side of it, it's free for a reason. And those services offer a higher tiered, costly, encrypted version for a reason, because they know their regular emailing systems are not protected. Just so you guys understand how it works, whenever you're sending a file to a client, let's say Joyce is my client, and I've got a bank statement that I'm sending to her, for example. even though I send it directly to her inbox, on the way to that inbox, it gets stored at multiple public email servers on the way to her. Each email server will take the file I've sent, make a
Mhm.
copy of it, keep it there, and send it to the next server. This happens in, less than a second, so you don't notice it. But even though I send it to Joyce, it's now resting on multiple public email servers. So you
Yeah.
need to find something that gets rid of that whole workflow, but also caters to your client's ability when it comes to logging into things.
Yeah,
And I
Jason, I've
think
got a
that's,
question for you.
yeah,
Can I interrupt you? Because I have
yeah,
a question for you here.
sure.
So you 100% right. First of all, email is garbage and I'm just going to say this in plain English. Email is garbage for file sharing with your clients. Not only
Absolutely.
because data rests in multiple servers, but also because you don't understand how secure your client's backend is, right? Especially if you're in a family law matter, you do not want to share information via email. Anyone who has someone who gets email via a business address, who has family members who might access their device, you don't want to send any email or any document that way. But Jason, I have a specific question for you about document sharing that we build on top of client portals, which is something that we do here in ProfitSolve. So if we eliminate the security risk and we're using just client portals, talk to me about the benefit of an added or additional file sharing tool like what you're the expert in every day, because that part, I think people think, oh, well, I've got the client portal, that's good enough. Talk to me about the next part that you're able to provide.
So it comes back to this idea of a source of truth. When going back to internal file management, if you've got paper documents in email that a paralegal received, but the attorney wasn't CC'd on it, you start to have this situation where you've got documents, and if you're using what the client uses because you don't have a system in place. So if
Yeah.
the client uses Google Drive or Dropbox or OneDrive and they're just sending you stuff over because that's what they use, you end up having all of these documents in 5+ locations and you don't know
Mhm.
where they are, or who has it, or what's going on. So a client portal, the big benefit of it is having this source of truth where your firm can say, this is where the most updated information and file versioning is for our firm. This is where we know everything is. This is like a digital file cabinet, basically. So
Yeah.
from that client portal, you can then request signatures for documents if you want to. If you
Mhm.
guys haven't talking about wet ink, and some courts, they say, oh, we only accept wet ink, but a lot of those rules are changing. A lot of, and you guys should ask your court or your filing system or whoever you're trying to submit documents to if they accept a lot electronic signature yet,
Yeah.
because there's a ton of data points that on electronic signatures you just don't have on paper documents. And there's arguments for both, but electronic signatures have gotten very popular over the past 10 years, and especially with COVID. And from a portal type setup, you can right click, send out for signature, get it signed. It automatically gets uploaded back into that client's folder. So it eliminates a lot of these unbillable tasks of having to
Yeah.
move files around and organize and just have it all in one place.
Yeah.
Does that answer your question?
It does. One of the things that I've gotten here recently, and Scott, I'm just really taking over. I'm going to bounce this back over to you in a minute here. One of the things that I've gotten recently that I've had to explain to some folks is, okay, I've got the client portal. I get that. Why on earth do I need anything above the client portal? And so what I'd love for you, Jason, to talk to us about is the benefit of the a solution that goes beyond sharing with just clients, right? A place where you can store your documents. Because whether I am receiving a tremendous amount of electronic discovery or I need to send large files to someone else,
Right.
huge files, and they're not a client of mine. I don't want to register them in my practice management system as a client. I don't
Right.
want that. What I need is to be able to communicate with third parties, doctors' offices, chiropractors, opposing counsel, whoever it needs to be. Talk to me about how a file sharing system works with those folks and the limits of a client portal in those scenarios.
Yeah. So a client portal, the way it operates is you have folders set up and you have logins associated with those folders so that when somebody logs in, the system knows, okay, they have access to these folders. But when you're on a case and you've got, an ancillary person that's involved, and you need to send them something, you don't want to add them to that same folder that has access to all those things that the client, they don't need to be privy to all that information. So that's where being able to share encrypted links to one file becomes really relevant. And at ProfitSolve, the way we do that is through a question and answer verification. So this makes it really easy. You can do a login as well, but just to make it easy, you can send a document out to this person and write a question and answer that only they would know the answer to. So just a quick verification for them to answer to make sure, okay, you're the right person, while also using that encrypted link of the portal. So we're using the security of the portal, but the ease of use of encrypted links in email at the same time. So you kind of get the best of both worlds. It's a really easy way to send those one-off files when needed. You can also do the same thing on the receiving end. So the system we have allows you to request files from clients or from random other parties. They can send it to you completely secured without having to log in or without having to create an account. Everything is sent with 256-bit encryption. And Joyce, you mentioned really large files. If you're working with a private investigator and they've got these video files of your client obviously being innocent, you're able to get that video file uploaded through this system because you can send gigabytes and gigabytes inside of these requested links because we're avoiding those public email servers that we talked about. So it really is just encompassing all of that back and forth that you guys have with clients, various other parties, and centralizing it in one place, but making it easy for all of them to use at the same time.
And I want to bring this full circle, that what you just described, all of that file sharing variety, if you will, is, to have that living within your practice management solution that you live in for everything else the rest of the day. So using Tabs 3, using Cosmolex, using Rocky Matter, using TimeSolve, all four of them as part of the ProfitSolve family have this tool now available within their system. We're calling it, it's called Lex Share. We'll talk about Lex Sign as a way to do that, the signature request, which you can talk about in a minute. The beauty of that, Jason, and what he's explaining is that if you're a firm that aren't using some of the ProfitSolve products right now, you could use the standalone Lex Share, Lex Sign to do everything that Jason just described. And again, that's my shameless plug for the ProfitSolve products, and I'm not afraid to say it. But I want to step back and tell you my horror story, just because I've been waiting to tell this horror story as why this is so important. Because we talked a little bit about the limitations in maybe the technical acumen of your clients, but the firms themselves, we know, have their own technical issues. And here's my horror story. As when I was a marketing director at TimeSolve, all of the marketing emails went out under my name. So Scott Clayson was an inbox name seen quite frequently by people who use law firms that use TimeSolve. As a result, I would periodically, consistently get emails sent to me that were to Scott, supposed to be somebody else. But we know how Outlook and Gmail will autofill. So if I'm an attorney, I start an email and I start typing Scott, and they're trying to send it to Scott Carlson, let's say, or Scott Olson or whoever, but they see my name comes up first and they're not paying attention. And so Scott Clayson is who is sending the email to. I have received documents from law firms for clients to my email. Me, like, and I it shatters me when I see it, and I have to email them back going immediately, like, this is not the Scott you were trying to send this to. Point being, they were doing, Joyce, what you described, using just email to send documents. And not only is it the issues, the security issues you talked about, your own security of like, are you even sending it to the right person? Right?
They're not. And I tell you what, Scott, this happens to me too, because I've got, I was on marketing emails for a long time here at ProfitSolve with one of our family of brands. And now I have 3 emails that just go to a single inbox. I get these things so frequently. I have a templated reply that I can just plug and play multiple times a week. I got mediation notes on Thursday afternoon. I should not receive mediation notes. So it's real. It's real. And I think everyone here who's going to be listening to this podcast at some point in the future has probably accidentally sent something to the wrong person. I think everyone has done that. Whether it was confidential information or not. Scott, thank you so much for sharing that story. That makes it real for everyone, I hope.
Yeah. So Jason, just want to wrap this up quickly here. We talked about the file sharing part. We talked a little bit about signature requests and the challenges of that. Is there, any part of that sort of category that's important to touch on that we haven't talked about already versus, we talked about wedding versus not, but just the idea of like requesting signatures on documents doesn't have to be a big hassle, I think is the takeaway here, right?
When I first started selling electronic signature in 2014, it was something I had to convince people was worth doing. It was, hey, this is legal, I promise. And over time, people started accepting it, got more popular, and then COVID, it just exploded because people, it was a lot of how people weren't coming in person for some firms anymore.
Right.
Electronic signature is not some scary monster that's super difficult to do. The typical way that a lot of law firms have gotten signatures in the past is through print, scan, sign, fax type processes. You're going to have people come in, you're going to have clients come in person, but a lot of firms will say, oh no, we're all set, we don't do electronic signature. And then we ask, okay, what do you guys do? And they say, oh, we just send it as a PDF through email. And what they usually don't understand how annoying that is for their clients, or how that's affecting their firm. Because if you send just a PDF over to a client to sign, they have to have a printer, a scanner, or a fax machine in order to get it back to you. And the whole thing is completely unsecured. Or they're going to print it out at their workplace where everything that's printed out of the main floor printer is monitored by an IT team. And their personal divorce paperwork is being printed out and they rush to the printer to make sure no one's looking at their stuff.
Right.
If they can do all of that and sign it and scan it and send it back to you unsecured, they can use electronic signature. And I promise you guys, if even though you're not using electronic signature with your clients, a lot of them are using it with their real estate agent or their accountant or their financial services provider, whatever it may be. This has become so popular and so mainstream. And it's also, what surprised me is how non-tech savvy people have really gravitated towards this. They don't have trouble with it. If you have the right system, another shameless plug for our system is that it's going to be sent directly from your email address instead of from a do not reply email. A lot of the issues with the major providers is that they come from these do not reply emails and it goes into your client's junk or their spam folder and they say they don't get it. They give you a call. Hey, I didn't get this. Check your spam, blah, blah, blah. Or they reply back to that email and say, hey, I had a question about this. And it says, this is going nowhere. And then the person doesn't know how to talk to you guys. You want to streamline that as much as possible. And electronic signature is a very easy way to dip your toe into the water of bringing your firm into a modern way of doing things. And then having it integrated into our system and into your legal practice management system just brings it to an entirely different level of having everything in one place instead of these siloed programs that don't talk to each other.
The other thing I love about specifically LexSign, the ability to request signatures is, and this is perhaps a unique thing for lawyers, is when you need to get signatures from multiple parties, that can feel like it's going to be really challenging in an electronic environment. But again, with LexSign, if you need to make that multiple signature request, multiple party request, it's pretty slick, isn't it?
Yeah, you can have sequential signer sequencing. So if I need to send a copy to you and Joyce, I can make it so Scott, you're the one who signs first, then it gets auto routed to Joyce, or if it can just be sent to both of you at the same time, and when both of you guys sign whenever, then it's just sent back to me as one completed document. You can have multiple different documents sent in one envelope with 10 different signers. So it's just sent out, everything's done, and it routes back into your system.
And you can do that right from your Outlook, making all those requests, right?
Yes. Yeah. The custom template feature for us is the differentiator. Not every document you guys send out to your clients is going to be the same to every client. So in our tool, you're able to customize in Outlook. I want the client to sign right here. I want them to put their name right here, put your initials right here, and you can send it out straight from there. So you don't need to log into a separate website and do all that.
All right. Well, I think we have taken a good deep dive into not only the importance of internally sharing your documents amongst your staff and how to organize it using your legal practice management solution, hopefully, but also the idea of like, how are you going to get your files to your clients? How are you going to get signatures? There are so many wonderful options out there that the ProfitSolve family can help provide. Again, another shameless plug, but that's part of learning how to be a winning law firm is using the right tools. And we're confident that Profit Solve has the right solutions no matter where you are technically as a law firm. So, Jason, thank you very much for being our
Absolutely.
guest here today.
Thank
Joyce,
you for having me.
Jason.
With such
Joyce, my
esteemed hosts,
esteemed
I had such a great experience.
well, we try to make it as easy as we can on our guests. So you'll get a parting gift later for your appearance. So
Right. Okay.
yeah, look for that in the mail. All right. Joyce, Jason, thank you guys very much. We will catch up with everyone next time with our next podcast. Hope you all have a great rest of your day.
Thanks,
Awesome.
Scott. Thanks,
Thanks, guys.
Jason.